Oh, yeah, today we are bringing all the smoke. Bellator MMA has a new home. It's a new day in world-class MMA. And if you don't know, now you know. Bellator MMA is on Showtime.
Everyone has the same goal, and that's to be the greatest fighter on the planet.
The time for talking is over. The main event. Here we go. The Bellator cage has landed. Yeah, yo, come on. Here we go again.
Bellator, this cage, this is my home.
That right hand, boom! Juliana Velasquez, the new Bellator World Champion, just like that.
Oh, yeah, this occasion calls for it. Mamma mia! Bellator MMA and Showtime Sports are bringing the noise in 2021, and you're about to hear their plans loud and clear. Hello there, I'm Mauro Ranallo, and it is so good to be with you on this very special occasion because Showtime Sports and Bellator MMA, they are teaming up to bring back live elite mixed martial arts to premium television. Bellator means warrior in Latin, and this is where warriors rule. And it is very much a big pleasure for me to welcome two men who have successfully ruled their fighting fiefdoms, Showtime Sports President Stephen Espinoza and Bellator MMA boss man Scott Coker. Stephen, got to start with you, sir. Why Bellator MMA, and why now?
Well, as you know, we've been interested in MMA for quite a while. We have a long history in the sport going back almost 15 years to the days of Elite XC and Strikeforce. We did some big events, built some big stars, Cormier, Rockhold, Woodley, Rousey, Melendez, and on and on. And of course, we were the first ones to bring televised MMA to a national broadcast network. That was CBS way back in 2008. And we've been talking to Scott off and on since 2014 when he took over as Bellator president. Scott, as you know, is a combat sports veteran. He's a practitioner as well, a black belt in Taekwondo, well-respected, well-liked in the sport. And when you look at the trajectory of Bellator, you know, who they've been able to sign as free agents, their ability to build new stars and contribute to the sport, the time just felt right for us to combine forces. Bellator has matured and elevated itself to a point where it now belongs on a premium television network.
Yes, it does. And Scott, it's been almost a decade, believe it or not, but the band is back together again. You've been in the promotional business for over 3 decades, a lifelong martial artist. What does it mean for you to be back on Showtime, this time with Bellator MMA?
I tell you, this is really a full circle opportunity. And when I look at the past, like Stephen said, with Strikeforce, we created so many great champions. We created so many great fighters that really have led the way for the history books and the legends of mixed martial arts fighters moving to the future. But what I'm really excited about now is over the last 5 years, we have really put together the pieces, and this is the best roster in the history of Bellator. So I'm really excited to put it on Showtime. We have some exciting things to announce. It's going to be amazing.
And of course, an amazing lineup is coming up on Showtime. But inquiring minds want to know, Stephen, now that we're in business with Bellator MMA, it has aired on various platforms over the years. We finally have solidified a consistent date. When can MMA fans see Bellator on Showtime?
Right. So to be clear, Showtime is now the exclusive home of Bellator live events. It'll be Fridays live on both coasts. We're launching with 3 big events, 3 consecutive Fridays starting April 2nd, and we couldn't be more excited to be premiering Bellator on Showtime.
And Scott, obviously, I cannot wait to be cage side for so many incredible events that you and matchmaker Rich Chow have put together. As Stephen mentioned, you have a propensity for discovering and nurturing new talent. And of course, you've procured some top free agents as well. But let's get to this fight schedule, because we are storming out of the gates when it comes to Bellator MMA on Showtime.
So April 2nd, we're happy to announce the continuation of the Featherweight World Grand Prix. Patricio Pitbull will fight Emmanuel Sanchez, and the winner will continue on to fight in the finals against AJ McKee sometime in June. Then, as everybody has kind of speculated about this, and we really haven't broken it, but we're going to announce it today, and that is we're going to bring the tournament that the fans want to see, and that is the light heavyweight division. So we're going to bring the Bellator Light Heavyweight World Grand Prix to Showtime, and it starts on April 9th. We have some great names. We got all the top guys. We have the best light heavyweight division in the planet, better than any other league in my opinion. April 16th, the same thing. You'll see another continuation of the quarterfinals. And we're going to finish our 4th event off on May 7th with our Bantamweight title fight between Juan Archuleta and Sergio Pettis.
You know, and in that lineup right there, Mo, you can see the kind of talent that has us so excited. And I want to point out on that second date, that April 9th date, shows the power of the combination of boxing and MMA on Showtime. April 9th will be the kickoff of the highly anticipated, highly discussed light heavyweight World Grand Prix. That's on the 9th. On the 10th, we'll have Showtime Championship Boxing. So it will be a back-to-back combat sports fan weekend. That's the kind of thing we look forward to doing for the combat sports fan throughout the Showtime schedule.
All I can say is, are we there yet? I cannot believe that we're back in MMA. And of course, guys, you know how near and dear mixed martial arts is to yours truly. But not only have we doubled the combat sports events on Showtime, but we got to give a shout out to the Mohegan Suns, Tom Cantone and Hartford Health, who have helped us produce these live events in a safe environment here at the Fight Sphere for both Bellator MMA and, of course, Showtime Championship Boxing.
They're another great partner, a great role in the process. We've been able to do these events safely since coming back in August. We look forward to continuing to do so.
And, of course, Stephen, we are giving MMA fans even more reason to say thank God it's Friday, because we're going to sweeten the deal for new subscribers.
That's right. If you're not a subscriber, we've got a great offer. It starts with a free trial and a discounted rate for 6 months. That will, get you well into the Bellator schedule, and we look forward to bringing combat sports fans the best of both boxing and MMA throughout the year.
Cannot wait to get this started. We are coming full bore out of the gates. Bellator MMA on Showtime beginning on Friday, April 2nd. Right now, we want to hear from our friends in the media. Let's go to Bellator PR guru, Danny Brenner.
Thank you, Mauro. We will start with Nolan King from MMA Junkie. Your line is live.
Hey, guys. Obviously, congrats. A pretty big deal here. Can you just talk to me about why you think Bellator is such a great fit for Showtime? I know you had just started on CBS Sports Network. What do you think it is about Showtime that you guys are going to be able to pull off, maybe that's a step up or a step in the right direction?
You want to take that, Stephen?
Sure. I mean, what attracted us to Bellator at this particular time was really the talent base. When you look at the light heavyweight division, the featherweight division, the women's division, they're as strong as any organization in the sport. So what we think at Showtime, what we believe that we can bring is sort of the premium touch. We can bring our experience in combat sports to the great team that Bellator already has, expand the storytelling, bring the premium feel, and be able to generate a little bit of the crossover audience. It does exist. I know there are those who say it doesn't, but we believe that we can cross-pollinate both the boxing and MMA audience in a way that benefits all of combat sports.
Right on. And how does this impact the number of events that you guys are going to have? This maybe is more for Scott. Are you guys going to stick to that same schedule that what you were expecting, the amount of events for this year, or does this tweak things a little bit?
No, I think it's about the same. We're going to launch with the 3 fights in April, and then we're going to probably go twice a month throughout the rest of the year. And you know, it's going to be right around those numbers moving forward.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Jay Anderson. Your line is live.
Hey, thanks very much. And first of all, Scott, one of the things that I noticed on today's promo was the move back to Fridays. Is that going to be the case moving forward? Is Fridays now the permanent home of Bellator again?
Yes, Fridays is the home of Bellator on Showtime, and it'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific.
Okay, and obviously huge news with the light heavyweight Grand Prix. There's been a lot of talk about the women's flyweight Grand Prix as well. I know you've been loath to run two simultaneously, but is there still hope that we'll see that down the line?
You know, traditionally we'd like to do one tournament per year. We're kind of overlapping because of the COVID situation with the featherweight tournament. That's why we're starting with the featherweight, semifinals with Pitbull. But you know, in the future, it's definitely an option. But when I started putting this light heavyweight division together, it just getting bigger and better and better. And when we signed Rumble and Romero, I said, okay, we got to do it. And then, you know, just the fans really wanted to see this one. We were getting just bombarded with, you know, socially and emails to me directly and Rich and everybody saying, hey, we want to see this light heavyweight division tournament. And so we said, okay, we're going to give the fans what they want to see, and it's going to be on Showtime.
And again, not to repeat myself, but the reality here is the talent at Bellator has elevated to the point which it was a no-brainer for us to get involved. This is one of the strongest organizations in all of MMA, and this is without question the peak of Bellator talent since it came into existence.
All right, thank you. We'll take a question from Gareth Davies with the Daily Telegraph.
Good evening, gentlemen from London, Mauro, Stephen, Scott. Good to see you all. Can I ask, first of all, I've got to ask the European question to all of you, or certainly to Scott and Stephen. Obviously, Showtime's going to be the exclusive home in the US, but where will we be able to see this in the UK and Europe? Because obviously, Channel 5 and Sky currently have deals with Bellator.
Yeah, Gareth, you know what? That's a very good question. And the good news is we're about to launch something very exciting. And I think if you wait till Thursday or Friday of this week, before the end of the week, we'll have a big announcement of our European partners. Brilliant. Stephen?
Gareth, good to hear from you.
Okay, thank you. I'll move on then. You mentioned the light heavyweights. As soon as you mentioned it, I jotted down Nemkov, Anderson, Mousasi, Bader, Johnson, Romero, Davis, McGeary. There's 8 just off the top of my head. Do you know the 8 at the moment? Is it 8? Is it 16? Where is the light heavyweight tournament going, and who's going to be in it?
This was a tough one, Scott. I'm gonna pass off this one because you know cutting it down to 8 was a task.
So here's the good news. We're going to announce the tournament this evening in a couple of minutes with Mauro, but it will be an 8-man tournament.
All right. Well, thank you very much, our media brethren, for your inquisitive queries. And I want to thank Mr. Stephen Espinoza, Mr. Scott Coker. This is kind of surreal as well. We're inside the Bellator MMA cage. There is a new power couple in combat sports. Bellator MMA is now on Showtime, and I'll be back to introduce you to a brigade of Bellator MMA warriors. But right now, I want to toss to the Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski of podcasting, morning combat hosts Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell.
I'm not sure which one I am, BC. I'm not sure if I'm Gronkowski. I probably am Gronkowski. Hi, everyone. Luke Thomas, Brian Campbell. We are the aforementioned other power couple inside of combat sports. We're the hosts of Morning Combat. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, BC, let's get right to it. Live MMA has not aired on Showtime since January 12th, 2013. Your reaction to this big news?
This is huge. This is huge. Knowing Bellator's history, to be on many different networks throughout their growth, to now have a home this solid, to be in a spot where Showtime's coming out with everything going on in Showtime Championship Boxing and now in Bellator MMA, making such a strong statement about this being the premier house of combat. This is huge for the Bellator brand, but I can't lie, being a longtime cover of this sport, having a relationship with Scott Coker, then the Strikeforce history between Showtime and that brand has been so rightfully romanticized. Now you get kind of a little bit of a repeat of that under a new banner, same Scott Coker, and same big matchups, Luke, because it's one thing to make a claim. Bellator may have the best light heavyweight division in the world. It's another thing to come right out off the bang and give the fans what they want, which is an 8-man tournament.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more throughout the course of today's proceedings. But talking about this relationship, what kind of stands out to me is how sort of full circle it is. Rich Chow was the matchmaker in Strikeforce. Here he is again in Bellator. Scott Coker, of course, the man behind Strikeforce. Here he is again in Bellator. And, of course, Steven Espinosa, who was responsible for that partnership as well at that time, is back again under different auspices. Let's talk about what each party could benefit from here. On the Bellator side, they have been developing their roster and their business over time, but it is also true they've been on streaming, they've been on television, and that television network changed names and sort of programming choices, and then it's been kind of bouncing around a little bit in that time. It's the consistency, and it's a place that has a history of showing not just premier MMA, but premier combat sports, good storytelling. By the way, we work for Showtime, hello. But yes, there is good storytelling along the way.
Yeah, and coming full circle, not bad to have Mauro Ronaldo there as a voice as well. But to your point and what you're asking here, it was the right time for Bellator in many ways for this type of a big move. Luke, you and I in Morning Combat at the turn of the year, we do the not so exact science of sort of making the bold projections, if you will, for 2021. One thing you said, Luke, I have a feeling this is going to be a big turn for Bellator. The Ducks are seemingly all lined up in a row when you look at that roster and the combination of not just legendary names who are very much still active that you recognize, but such a hungry young group of champions on the way up, contenders. We saw that in the 16-man Featherweight World Grand Prix tournament, which is still ongoing right now and is a big part of this announcement. But what a time to be alive for Bellator in terms of the strength of the roster, the willingness to put the best against the best, and now a very strong partner to sort of go full circle with.
Never been a better time to be a combat sports fan. Never. In the history of planet Earth, this is the number one time. Now, speaking of what Showtime benefits from here, if we can have this conversation as well, I think with the Bellator brand, you're certainly going to get a large organization that has a relatively speaking, a pretty big roster that can go to a lot of different divisions. It can be a consistent home. Remember, it's going to be on Friday, so they can complement that with Saturday boxing. And again, if you actually go back and listen to Steven Espinosa interviews around 2013 or 2014, right when they had the Strikeforce brand had been fully integrated into the UFC, they said Showtime was still very much in the business of wanting to be in MMA, but they were waiting for the right partner, the right opportunity. Here we are. May have taken 8 years, BC, but this is the moment, it appears.
Yeah, better late than never. Seems like the right fit, all things considered, as you said, and obviously a boon for Showtime for just what you advertised there. Friday night is certainly all right for fighting now in this new relationship with Showtime and Bellator, but you pair that with the consistent home of Saturday night Showtime Championship Boxing, we could have some pretty fun, loaded weekends, not just under the roof here at the Mohegan Sun and the relationship here with both Bellator and Showtime Boxing, but the ability to carve out a whole weekend, so to speak. There's some big things to come.
I'm a big fan of the weekday fights. Even on Wednesday, if they ever get around to it, that's not the plan. Of course, Friday night is the plan here for the programming. I'm just saying, I'm a big fan of starting your weekend off before it even gets to Saturday, certainly with some of those things. Some of the other things that we've announced as well, we've not heard yet who the participants will be. That's going to be a part of today's announcement. But just as a general overview, they are going to do a light heavyweight tournament with 8 men. This is interesting because there are certain divisions in Bellator that have really grown and been developed. This is one of them. We'll have to see who they announce, but I think it is at least plausible in theory for the winner of this tournament to make a claim to being the world's best 205-pounder. It's not out of the question by any stretch of the imagination.
Not out of the question at all. And if you're Vadim Nemkov, the unbeaten current champion at light heavyweight for Bellator, who has seemingly come out of nowhere and has just been a destruction force, stopping Ryan Bader to win that light heavyweight championship late last year. Luke, you're going to have to run the gauntlet here when you look up and down the division, knowing the quality of names, both young and old. This should be very interesting. Can't wait to see the matchups.
And we're out of the gate on April. 3 shows essentially in the month. It should be noted. Part of that, of course, being the rematch. Emmanuel Sanchez taking on the best fighter in Bellator history, Patricio Freire, as part of that, not only just a title fight, but the Featherweight Grand Prix winner of that will move on to take on AJ McKee. Any final thoughts on that contest?
Look, this Featherweight Grand Prix, you never know when you launch a tournament how it's going to play out. It's the beauty of it. It can be the curse of it if the guys you thought may have been in the end get knocked out and all that. That Heavyweight Grand Prix that we recently saw a couple years back, Bellator, Ryan Bader used that to stamp himself another chapter in his career. I'm not sure who's coming out of this featherweight one. That's why I love it so much. Emmanuel Sanchez in this rematch with the champion, Patricio Pitbull, is as live a dog here as AJ McKee on the other half of that bracket, who at 25 just seems ready to bust out and take over this sport. You can't plan it if you're Scott Coker. You put the pieces in place and sit back and watch it. It has been very fun up to this point.
Now, speaking of that Featherweight Grand Prix that currently is in motion, there's more to the story.
Welcome to Bellator MMA's Featherweight World Grand Prix Selection Show. Here we go, AJ McKee.
Flawless victory, December. Let's get it. Whoever won it, winner, chicken dinner. I'm ready to cook them up in a pot.
AJ, you make sure you bring that skillet, boy, because I'm about to scramble your eggs.
He has in mind to go with February. I'll be fighting Daniel Weichel. He knows he didn't beat me. That's why.
Where would you like?
Fight in January.
January.
Hey, Patricio, come and get some.
Who wants to fight me?
I think everybody wants to fight him.
You are a loser.
All right. The bracket is locked, loaded, and ready to launch.
Here we go. That is deep right now. It's over. And it's all over. Darian Caldwell advances.
For the bottom. Oh, the tap out. McKee forces Derek Campos to capitulate.
Nice body shot.
Sanchez looking for the finish.
Manuel El Matador Sanchez.
Oh, and again. And it is all over. Patricio Pitbull remains the Featherweight World Champion.
Where your gas tank out is the round goes on.
It is all over. Just like that. AJ McKee.
Wow.
And who will he fight for gold and $1 million? Will it be Emmanuel Sanchez or Patricio Pitbull, the champion? Only 3 remain.
Oh, yeah, the Bellator MMA Featherweight World Grand Prix started in September 2019 with 16 of the top fighters at 145. We are down to the terrific 3. Who will be the last man standing? Who will, when all is said and done, walk away with this beauty? The real Ric Flair drip, a Bellator championship belt, and a $1 million check. We know who's already submitted his ticket to the final, a man who, when he was 12 years old, wrote himself a check for $1 million. He's one win away from making it a reality. He's the undefeated AJ McKee. AJ McKee submitted his opponent in the semifinals with, well, the most unique submission I have seen in a long time. AJ McKee with the McKeotine as he advances to the Bellator MMA Featherweight World Grand Prix final. AJ, you're always looking fly, dripping in finesse, dripping in style. What does it mean for you to be one of the finalists in this tournament?
Man, it's a long dream come true, so I'm just looking forward to getting in there and doing what I do best, and that's entertaining the fans, putting on a great show.
A man who is really already rewriting the record books in many ways, AJ McKee. And now let's find out who he potentially could face in the final. It's time to welcome the semifinal participants. It will be Patricio Pitbull defending the Featherweight Championship against Emmanuel Sanchez in a rematch. And here comes the young warrior with revenge on his mind. He is Emmanuel Sanchez. And now the man who has been, well, defending the Featherweight Championship throughout the tournament, a man who is competing in many record scenarios when it comes to the final. He is draped in gold. He is the Bellator MMA lightweight champion and the defending Bellator MMA featherweight champion. Please welcome Patricio Pitbull. And he will be joined by his coach and the man who will be translating for the champ, Eric Albarracin. So we are down to the final three. I can feel the energy and maybe even a little bit of the animosity. I know that, AJ, you and the champ have not been shy in going back and forth on social media otherwise. Emmanuel Sanchez, hey, you have as much right to be here as anyone else, and you have an opportunity to not only become the new featherweight champion, but you have an opportunity to win the $1 million and get some revenge. Now, AJ, you've already made it. So I got to ask, even though I might know the answer, which two do you think you're going to face in the final and why?
Honestly, preference-wise, I'd prefer to fight Sanchez and go take the 55 belt from Patricio, but we'll see, you know. Once they get it on, it's going to be a great fight, and I'm looking forward to putting on a great show with either one of them.
All right, Eric, I'm going to ask you to translate for the champion, Patricio. You are Mr. Bellator. You knocked out Michael Chandler to become the second simultaneous champ in Bellator history. You own a host of records at featherweight. You've been inside the Bellator MMA cage more than anyone. Talk about what it means for you to not only defend your title in this tournament, but to now be one win away from scoring $1 million check.
It's just the beginner, and I am not surprised, motherfuckers.
All right, short and sweet. Thank you very much, champ. Emmanuel, what's it going to take for you to have your hand raised on the very first main event, Bellator MMA on Showtime?
Getting that win back and going on to the finals and getting this one back as well.
And I want to ask you both, actually. Emmanuel, what do you think of AJ McKee as a fighter, and why do you think he made it to the final?
He's a great fighter, brings a lot to the table, can finish a fight anywhere. It's going to be an exciting fight when we get in there.
And Patricio, going to give you the last word here. You're the champion. I know you got to focus on Emmanuel Sanchez. You guys went back and forth in that first fight. What's the message you have for AJ McKee should you prevail Friday, April 2nd?
Everyone is tough here. Everybody knows that. But my focus is in Emmanuel Sanchez. Let's do that first.
All right. The three-headed monster, King Ghidorah of Bellator MMA, the Featherweight Grand Prix. Let's go and, I want to welcome back our PR buddy from Bellator, Danny Brenner, with some queries from the media.
Thank you, Mauro. We will get started with Donna Corby. Your line is live.
Hey, guys. I wanted to ask AJ and Emmanuel, of course, Patricio is the champion. Do you feel that if you get that belt from him, you are the greatest featherweight in the world, all promotions?
Absolutely. First things first is getting this one back, and then we'll see what happens after that. But taking out this great fighter who's been on top for so long and has accomplished so much, and I can't wait to get this one back.
I'd have to agree. You know, he's definitely, pound for pound, one of the best 145-pounders in the world. Just look at his accolades, the things he's accomplished. There are a lot of dreams and things I said I'm going to accomplish, so hats off to him. But like I said, man, it's a new era, and I'm here to take over.
Any other questions, Danny?
Yes, sir. We will go to Steve Jewin. Your line is live.
AJ, do you prefer having to wait this long to see the conclusion of the Featherweight Grand Prix, or would you rather have your fight closer to Pitbull and Sanchez?
Me being a fighter and just loving what I do, just being so passionate about it, I'm always looking to get back in there, you know. If I'm not hurt, I'm not injured, throw me back in there. But it being $1 million on the line, I don't really mind the wait, you know. Keeps me hungry, keeps me in the gym, and just kind of staying motivated, you know. Always trying to level up and continue to plateau.
Okay, we'll take one from Edward Carbajal. Your line is live.
Hi, guys. Question for Emmanuel. Given that you and Patricio have crossed hands before, I'm wondering if there's anything you took from the first fight that makes you feel better prepared for the rematch. And secondly, for Patricio, if there's more concern based on the fact that you guys have already experienced each other before.
We've already experienced each other before. I've been able to see what obviously I can do, can't do, and how great of a fighter he is. But I do know my potential, and I do know that I'm fully capable of stopping this man. and I know what he brings to the table, and I'm excited to go out there and show what I can do.
It's a new fight. He knows me, I know him, and let's see. Everyone knows we have to put a different thing to win the fight. He and me want to do the same.
All right, and our final question for this segment comes from Nolan King. Your line is live.
Questions for Patricio. Obviously, you have a very tough test in front of you in Emmanuel. Is there any extra added motivation knowing that a guy like AJ McKee is on the other side of him, somebody that you don't necessarily, you guys have gone back and forth and you don't necessarily care for?
I already know I am the best featherweight on the planet, and he is undefeated, so I am going to prove that again.
All right, so there we have heard it from all three competitors. AJ McKee looking to extend the longest winning streak in Bellator MMA history. All 17 of his pro bouts, all victories have come under the Bellator MMA banner. He awaits the winner of the second semifinal, Patricio Pitbull, a record title holder for Bellator, the second simultaneous champ. He looks to punch his way to the final and successfully defend the title against Al Matador, who hopes to tame 2 more bulls en route to becoming Bellator MMA featherweight champion. Right now, I want to throw it back to 2 guys who are always punching out of their weight class. I'm not your father, Luke, and Flying Brian.
All right, thank you, Mauro. Luke Thomas here, back with Brian Campbell. Brian, let us talk about some of the details from this Featherweight Grand Prix tournament. You heard the gentleman up there. First of all, you know what stands out to me about those 3 participants? AJ McKee just grew up under the Bellator banner quite exclusively. But then you have Patricio Freire, the most successful Bellator fighter ever, and then Emmanuel Sanchez, who is only 30 years old but has been with Bellator since he was 24 years old. In other words, the bulk of his professional work, all of it for all 3 participants, has been under the Bellator banner. It's sort of better for the organization, if you ask me, to have that kind of developmental program that they can showcase when we're talking about now the elite in that particular weight class.
Yeah, this is proof that it worked. Building from the ground up to have these 3 left. All 3 could end up winning this tournament and certainly holding that title. Luke, I don't know if you can pour in a glass the swagger and confidence that was up there from those 3 guys.
How about Eric Albarracin back there with the fur coat and the glasses?
I mean, you mix that with the great Mauro Ranallo's hair, jet black, loving it these days. Look, there's a lot of confidence up there for a reason, and you specifically look at McKee. I mean, he could be the next big thing. The way that he finished Darrion Caldwell to advance to the final, doing it so quickly, doing it with such a creative choke, it shows you that there's no real ceiling for this guy. Whoever comes out of this title fight April 2nd to kick off this Bellator on Showtime relationship between the champ and between a very hungry Emmanuel Sanchez, it almost gets harder from there because we're not really sure exactly who AJ McKee is, where his ceiling is, and that's just a testament to his climbing the rung each step of the way and impressing us that much more.
And remember something about this tournament. This is not like, again, we haven't been, the tournament participants for 205 have not been announced, but heavyweight was the same way, and so was welterweight. This one was a little bit different, BC, if you recall. This was a 16-man tournament, and if you look at AJ McKee, we'll start with him on the left side of the bracket. Now, he's already done, he's the finalist from the left side of the bracket, so that's one of the finalists. To be clear, the semifinals are the Patricio Freire and the fight between him and Emmanuel Sanchez. But getting back to it, AJ McKee beat Georgi Karakanian, stopped him in like 8 seconds. Then he had the fight against Derek Campos, got put through the paces a little bit, but won via armbar in the 3rd, and then goes out there and does, as you mentioned, to what he did to Darrion Caldwell with the Makio team. By the way, just so it's clear, I am the inventor of that name.
Here we go.
I want credit where credit is due, Brian Campbell.
You're like another Sensei Seagal here. Did you teach Anderson the front kick? What's going on
I
here?
should have, but here's the point I'm trying to make. Yes, the fight against Derek Campos, a little bit tough, but for 3 fights, 2 of them only lasted in total 80 seconds. He is fresh heading into this final.
And he's so dangerous. And, we talk about the swagger and wanting all the smoke, all the great, cliches these days. when AJ McKee can look into the camera and say, yeah, I'd rather Emmanuel Sanchez win. Why? Because I want to win the featherweight championship from him, and then I want to move up to lightweight and take that title from Pitbull. He said it in the past, he'd follow Pitbull up to heavyweight if that's what demands it. Here's a guy who knows what he wants. He's going after it. Wow, cannot wait to see how this tournament plays out. I can't reiterate enough. Emmanuel Sanchez pushed Pitbull to the limit in their first fight in 2016. 2018. He's been 3-0 since then. He looks like a new fighter, so this should be interesting.
Let's focus in on him because the accolades that you could heap upon Patricio Freire are endless. But let's not forget about Emmanuel Sanchez, 30 years old now, BC. This is a guy who has absolutely matured. And yes, he lost the first time around to, again, the best fighter in the history of Bellator. But as you noted, really coming around into his own skill set. A guy before who could last the duration. I think he's become much more of a finisher in this stage of his career.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if you go back over his last 8 fights overall, he's 7-1 since 2016. He redeemed that very close loss to Daniel Weichel to put himself into this huge opportunity in this semifinal part. He is a guy who's always been aggressive, always been going in there, going for the win. But Luke, if you look back specifically in how he lost that fight against Pitbull in Tel Aviv, close decision, but he took Patricio's best stuff, got wobbled a little bit, came back and still put the pressure on him. When you mix that with the experience and the growth of where he is now, the fighter he is today, you got to expect fireworks in this rematch. I mean, if you were the thing that I love about these tournaments the most, it gives no advantage to the champion. For Pitbull to run the table here, it's got to be all killer every time, and this is going to be as tough of a matchup as you could dial up.
Well, that's it for the 145-pound tournament, but Bellator and Showtime have many more announcements to go. With that in mind, let's throw it back to my man from the Great White North. It is Mauro Ranallo.
Thank you very much, Luke A. And I want to talk about, well, another golden era of MMA. You know, I had the pleasure of being ringside in Japan for the 2005 light heavyweight Grand Prix. It was known as middleweight in Japan, but we saw a 23-year-old Mauricio Shogun Hua's coming out party. Now, in 2021, Bellator MMA, home of the deepest division the light heavyweights have seen, and we have got an Elite 8 who will be vying for the title and $1 million in cold hard cash. Let's take a look at the first quarterfinal matchup. After a memorable Bellator debut, knocking out Melvin Manhoef, Corey Anderson is going to be welcoming a newcomer in Dobrojan Yagshimuradov. And Yagshimuradov could not be with us today, but we do have Corey, Mr. Overtime Anderson, and hey, you know he doesn't want to be working overtime during the tournament. So that's our first matchup, and that comes your way on Friday, April the 9th in the co-feature. In the main event, current Bellator heavyweight champion and former light heavyweight champion Ryan Darth Bader will square off one more time with former UFC light heavyweight champion Lyoto Machida. Machida beat Bader in the octagon. Bader hoping to even the score and successfully defend the title in the Grand Prix. And it is my pleasure now to welcome back to the Bellator stage one of the all-time greats in mixed martial arts, a former UFC light heavyweight champion. He is the Karate Kid, Lyoto Dragon Machida. And it is time to welcome the current reigning and defending Bellator heavyweight champion who has his sights set on once again becoming a champ. This is Ryan Darth Bader. Also in the Bellator MMA Light Heavyweight World Grand Prix, it is a matchup of two high-profile free agent signings for Bellator. Anthony Rumble Johnson takes on the Soldier of God, Yoel Romero, in the Bellator MMA cage. And here comes the 2000 Olympic silver medalist in freestyle wrestling, a four-time challenger for the UFC middleweight title. He is making his Bellator MMA debut, moving back up to where it started at 205, Yoel Romero. And his opponent, making his first walk to the Bellator MMA cage, a supreme knockout artist coming out of retirement, a former title challenger in the UFC. Would you please welcome Anthony Rumble Johnson? And Johnson is not with us, but I hope he heard that intro at home. Rumble, young man, rumble. It's live TV. What do you want from me? All right, coming up, we got more, more matchups coming your way. In this tournament, it gets better and better. The main event on Friday, April 9th, it is going to be the defending champion, who is also not with us, by the way, but we will hear from Vadim Nemkov. He takes on a former light heavyweight champion in Mr. Wonderful, Phil Davis. And now making his way to the stage, just like the rest of the Bellator brigade on display today, styling and profiling, he is Phil Mr. Wonderful Davis. All right, let's take a look at the bracket for the Bellator MMA Light Heavyweight Grand Prix. 8 of the top fighters at 205. You'll have to win 3 fights to become Bellator MMA Light Heavyweight Champion, or stay champion in Nemkov's case. And of course, the winner also walks away with $1 million. And I know the media is waiting to ask their questions, but I'll just make this quick. Corey, you made a successful debut in Bellator, and now you're in one of the deepest tournaments in MMA. You said it yourself, Bellator MMA's light heavyweight division is the best in the sport.
100%. You know, the first fight was just a start. You know, that was my welcoming gift. Now I'm here to finish it all off.
Now, of course, your opponent, Yakshimuradov, not with us. What can you tell us about him, and what kind of a fight do you think he'll have in the opening round?
I mean, so far from what I've seen, he's a heavy wrestler, you know, and everybody know I was a heavy wrestler and am a heavy wrestler as well. So I think I'm going to annul that, and my hands, my movement, and everything else is much better than his. So just got to go out there and show him why I dominate all my fights I win.
Also on your side of the bracket, Ryan, you were the first champ in Bellator MMA history. Obviously, bitter pill to swallow losing against Vadim Nemkov, but hey, you put those bootstraps on, you are back in it, you're still the heavyweight champ, but this is about reclaiming the 205-pound title and gaining some revenge against your opponent, Lyoto Machida.
Yeah, it's about redemption. You know, I have a lot of Machida earlier in my career, Nemkov. You know, and I was the first 2-division champion, and now I have the opportunity to be the first guy to go in there and win 2 Grand Prix in 2 different weight classes. So it's pretty special.
What about the fact that you're on one side of the bracket, the champion is on the other side? You could gain revenge in the final. That's got to motivate you even more.
Exactly. You got to make it to the finals, right, to win it. So, you know, I had a great time the last tournament. I thrive in these tournaments, and I'm going to do it again.
All right, Lyoto Machida, your resume speaks for itself. You've been in tough battles. You have won tough battles. You come into this tournament hoping to reignite your career at 205. What does it mean for you to be in the tournament and to maybe beat your opponent one more time?
So for me, it's one of the biggest achievements in Bellator is to be a part of this Grand Prix, because it's going to be only the best fighters 205 in this Grand Prix. For me, is an honor to be a part of this and completely focused on my next fight.
All right, are you sure Anthony Rumble Johnson isn't here? I thought I saw him before, but okay, he's not here. We're going to talk to his opponent, Yoel Romero. Yoel, nice to see you again, my man. We go back to the Strikeforce days, and I want to just welcome you back to Bellator MMA. And you've got a tough test in your first fight against a guy who also came from the other side, so to speak, in Anthony Johnson. Talk about your matchup.
I am very excited, you know, because when I see the face of a lot of very good fighters, UFC champions, you know, it's a very tough. It's a very good for me, because I want to prove a little more myself, you know. And Anthony is a very good time. He's very good too. He's a tough. That's good for me. That's good for me.
It's good to have you here in Bellator MMA. And Phil Davis, you've been at the top of the mountain, my man. You know what it's like to be Bellator MMA light heavyweight champion, and you're going to get a chance to become a 2-time champion from the jump. Talk about your fight against the defending champ, Nemkov.
Yeah, you know, I can't wait to get back in there with the champ. We had a very close fight the first time, and I can't wait to really just showcase everything I've done to prepare since that loss.
What we see here are 5 of the Elite 8 that will be vying for $1 million and the Bellator MMA Light Heavyweight Championship. The belt currently is around the waist of Vadim Nemkov. He's not with us, but we're going to hear from the champ right now.
He is the new Bellator Light Heavyweight World Champion, Vadim Nemkov. But and it's all over, just like that, Vadim Nemkov.
Всем привет! Как известно, Bellator объявил о Гран-при в полулегком весе. Я очень рад этому событию, так как боится сильнейший полутяж планеты. И я думаю, что мой пояс останется со мной. Я буду готов к этому Гран-при. И я думаю, что я одержу победу.
So we just heard from Vadim Nemkov, the newly minted Bellator MMA light heavyweight champion, set to defend the championship in this tournament featuring the Great 8 at light heavyweight. Right now, we want to take some questions from the media. Let's go back to Bellator PR man, Mr. Danny Brenner.
Thank you, sir. We will get started with Jane Havsey from the Daily Record. Your line is live. All right, we'll move on to Damon Martin. Your line is live.
Question for Ryan Bader. Ryan, I know you had expressed after your last fight going back to heavyweight and defending your title there. Can you tell me what's going to happen with your heavyweight title now that you're jumping in this Grand Prix?
Yeah, I'm going to keep it. It's one of those things where Bellator wanted me to come down to this 205-pound division. I was ready to fight for the heavyweight belt in early March. But this thing was getting put together. They were moving to Showtime, and this thing is huge, you know. So my plan is to go in there and win this thing and then get right back to heavyweight. And that's the plan right now.
I know you're not an excuses guy, but I know you had, you know, after fighting at heavyweight, you had kind of a rough cut getting back down to 205, and I know things didn't go your way for the Nemkov fight. Can you kind of give us an idea how you're feeling now and kind of acclimating your body back to light heavyweight, especially with this tournament?
Yeah, you know, everything was kind of in the mix with COVID, and I didn't know what – I thought I was going heavyweight. You know, 4 weeks before the fight, I was going down to light heavyweight, so there's some issues with that. But now that I know I'm doing this tournament, you know, we got 9 weeks until we're fighting. It's going to be perfect. This is how I want to do it. I want to, you know, get my body down the right way and not crash it at the very end and try to go out there and perform because I didn't perform. And so now I get to do it right and show everybody why I became the light heavyweight champ in the first place and keep rolling.
All right, our next question will come from the line of Jason Burgos, followed by Donna Corby.
Hey, this question is for Phil Davis. Phil, first, is there just a lot of relief that you are getting this title fight opportunity, this rematch? And 2, is this by far, for a career that's had so many big fights, the biggest fight of your career, not only because it's a title fight in the Grand Prix, but to get revenge on a fight that was so close the first time around?
Good question. Yeah, absolutely. I've been waiting for this fight, not just because I had a loss, because he's a champion, and he's such a good fighter. He's crafty. He's skilled. He's he's a good champion. And you get one over him, I definitely gotta run it back. And I think the biggest test of my career is definitely standing on the stage with these gentlemen. Winner of this tournament is definitely the best in the world.
I also had a question from Lyoto. This fight is a rematch of a fight that you won by knockout in the second round. Why should Ryan Bader at all think this fight would be different, or do you see this fight going the same way, or has things changed? Has he become a far better fighter than he was the first time you fought him?
So I cannot foresee the fight because fight is a fight. Every fight is different. So we fought a few years ago, so it's a completely different fight. So I already told you guys that my focus completely in myself.
All right, we'll go to Donna Corby.
Hey, my question is for Yoel. Can you talk us through the decision to move up to 205 when making the move to Bellator? And do you believe at any point you will compete in the 185-pound division in this new promotion?
I believe that there's a good opportunity for me, is move up for the 205. I don't want to go cut no more the weight. It's a good. It's very good because I have a very good tough guys in this division, and pull every time. That is good because it's a push myself and go training. I didn't go in training. I now go to. I need to see forward. That's my focus right now.
All right, and our final question will come from Nolan King with MMA Junkie.
The question's for Corey. Corey, perhaps your opponent doesn't necessarily have the same amount of name recognition as the other competitors in the tournament, but do you think that there's some extra added level of danger in there, kind of an unknown guy that you need to make sure to take extra serious?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I tell a lot of people all the time when they ask me, who do you think is the best fighter in the world? I say the best fighter in the world is probably some kid out there that you haven't heard of yet. And this could be this guy. I'm not going to go out and look past him because he doesn't have a name. I got to go out there and think of him just like he's the world champ, like he is Nemkov, like he's labeled the best in the world. And if I fight like that throughout the whole tournament, I should be just fine.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. I am salivating at the prospects of what is going to transpire in this tournament beginning April the 9th, Friday on Showtime. Thanks to each and every one of them. Again, this Bellator MMA light heavyweight tournament is stacked more than the bands that my boys at Morning Combat bank each and every week. Hey, guys, Bellator MMA is making money moves.
Yeah, they certainly are, Mauro. Thank you so much. All right, BC, let's talk about it. They actually did it.
This is big.
I was looking at some of the response online. There's so much to get to here, but first things first, it seems like there's a lot of buzz about one of the co-main events. Yoel Romero taking on Anthony Rumble Johnson. Of course, that'll be on April 16th. They did it. Now, there's some folks saying, why didn't you break them up, put them on opposite sides of the bracket? But here's my understanding of the thinking. Just do it. We lived in a world where Fedor and Overeem were supposed to fight one person ahead of each other and then meet somewhere later on down the tournament.
Strikeforce World Grand Prix.
Forget it. Just make the fight that the people want up front. That is exactly what is happening.
I mean, can you have your cake before your vegetables? I guess April 16th, we're going to get that with this as the co-main event, as you mentioned, and of course a very good main event as the champ comes out, Vadim Nemkov, in a rematch with Phil Davis. But it's hard not to just love this matchup. Rumble Johnson, Yoel Romero, both have so many unanswered questions coming in. Yes, you're getting a high celebrity factor, but let's not forget, Luke, Anthony Rumble Johnson removed himself from the sport for a few years. Didn't know if he was going to retire for good. May have needed just a recharging to get back out there. When he's at his best, there's not a chin in the world that can take his best shot. You match that on the other side with somebody like Yoel Romero, made out of granite, an ageless wonder. What's he going to look like, though, at 205 pounds against the very elite? Please tell me you're feeling what I'm feeling in terms of, I just got to see what this looks like.
And also, do you see the size of Romero's neck at 205 pounds? My Lord, that thing is like 30 inches around. It's ridiculous. It's like a waist out there. Now, listen to this. We talked about Vadim Nemkov. This is his run to the tournament, provided he wins, your existing champion. If, in fact, he ends up beating Phil Davis on April 16th, by the way, that's a rematch that was very closely contested the first time around, Nemkov winning via split decision. If he wins that, BC, then the champion will have to fight the winner of Romero versus Johnson, and then that person ends up just getting to the finals. They didn't do the champ any favors here with the matchups. By the way, Phil Davis may be one of the most underrated light heavyweights in existence.
At 36, will still give everyone a very tough fight coming off that split decision win over Lyoto Machida. But you just identified what you have to love about these kind of tournaments. I mean, we're getting Romero and Rumble up front, right, to make sure that we see it, and that's great. But you just never know who's going to come out of it. There's no advantage for the champion. It's a gauntlet you have to run through, and it gives you the opportunities to make stars out of somebody that you didn't maybe think this was going to be their moment. Remember, we've seen tournaments in the past, the Super Six on Showtime in boxing, where Andre Ward became a star overnight by running a gauntlet of super middleweights. And we've seen Ryan Bader himself use the Bellator Heavyweight World Grand Prix in the past couple of years to carve out a second chapter in his already very impressive career. How much respect, though, Luke, do you have for the ex-champion Bader? He just got stopped by a guy in Nemkov who might be the next big thing in this division. He could have easily went back to heavyweight, where he's the champion in Bellator, and lived off those royalties, right? Defended that title for a while. He wants to come right back in the mix.
And not just that, to get another crack at Nemkov if Nemkov can move through the tournament, but more than that, get another crack at Lyoto Machida, right? Here is a weight class where we had analyst for Bellator and commentator Josh Thompson be like, Bader doesn't have to compete down here. To your point, he can just be the man up here. He is choosing to take the more difficult road to right some wrongs previously in his career, whether it was in a different cage or the Bellator one. I really appreciate that. And by the way, should be noted, also on this bracket, Corey Anderson's going to be here. He's going to be a tough out, and I think a bit of a dark horse in this tournament. But more to the point, there's a name here that not a lot of folks are going to know, Yaksha Muradov. MMA Prospects is a great site that follows a lot of what's happening on the regional and sometimes international scene, and they've rated this guy as maybe one of the top 205-pound prospects outside of any major organization. So you get a lot of, well, who is this guy?
Well,
You're about to find out.
Yeah, can we practice saying Davletzan Yaksha Muradov? Because you're going to need that. Look, he was a champion in ACA in Russia. He's coming in on an 8-fight win streak. He's 31 years old. Comes from Turkmenistan, and he comes to smash. He's got 11 finishes out of those career 18 wins. Luke, this could be one of those potential dark horses where certainly the hardcores of the hardcore fans know who he is, know the reputation coming in. He's going to be thrown right to the wolves, though, right away. I mean, you look at this field of 8, which has, former champions in Davis, Machida, Bader, Nemkov, who could be a rising star, a lot of names. You got Corey Anderson, who has yet to really have his big moment and find out how great he can be. He might be facing a buzzsaw for all we know here in Yaksha Muradov, who's coming in with a hefty reputation.
Nice one over Melvin Manhoff in his Bellator debut, but there are many more hills to climb. All right, that's it for us. Let's go back to the master of ceremonies himself, Mauro Ranallo.
Hey, thank you very much, Luke. And a man who has climbed a tough hill to become the Bantamweight champion, Juan Archuleta. You're coming off a impressive win over the previously undefeated Patricky Patchy Mix for the vacant 135-pound title. Fair to say that your striking was the difference in that fight?
Absolutely, man. Patchy was a tough opponent, and I knew later in the rounds his grappling, his wrestling were going to dwindle down. I was going to take advantage with him at the striking.
Legendary boxing analyst Gil Clancy says that champions immediately get 25% better when you win that title, when you first put it around your waist. How has camp, how has preparation, even though it's still a while off, how has it been as champion inside the gym?
Absolutely, man. I mean, it's a burden that's lifted off your chest. You're not chasing the dragon anymore. Now you're out there chasing performance after performance, and hopefully you could come up and be able to perform in the cage from here on out.
You were involved in the Featherweight Grand Prix. You ran into Patricio Pitbull in the opening round. Who do you think is going to win that tournament?
You know what? I think if he sticks to his game plan, Patricio comes out on top, and we cross paths once again in the future down the road.
All right, well, you're going to cross paths with Sergio Pettis. And Sergio, you got your game face on. All you guys are styling and profiling, looking slick these days. You've got a fighting family. And I know there's sibling rivalry. Your brother Anthony, a former UFC champion. You have a chance to become a Bellator champion. Talk about this opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah, this is a big opportunity for me. 27 years old, fighting a tough Juan Archuleta, 25 and 2. So, to have that on my resume would be amazing for my career, for my future, and very excited for this fight, man. It's gonna be war.
At the age of 27, most athletes are coming into their physical prime. The lighter weights, it seems like the prime doesn't last as long. How do you feel now, just in your 27th year, taking on a very tough veteran and now a champion in Archuleta?
I feel like all my previous experience is going to help out, going through some tough fights and some ups and downs of the sport, facing some adversity. But, I'm excited, man. It's a big opportunity. Juan's, a great competitor, and I think it's my time, man. I'm going to go out there and do what I do.
All right, do we have questions from the media? So let's go to Bellator PR man, Danny Brenner. Take it away, Dan the man.
Thanks, Mauro. We will start with Abdul Patel. Your line is live.
Hey, everyone. Sergio, question for you, my man. You're coming off with 3 big wins. How do you see this going down? This guy's a beast.
I don't like to think too far ahead for, planning out what am I going to do. I think it holds me back. I just go out there and let it flow. So however it goes, it's gonna go. But I'm gonna come out there and give my A game, and I'm gonna try my best and have some fun doing it. That's the best part about it. Just having some fun.
All right, next we'll go to Steve Jewin. Your line is live.
And this question is for Sergio as well. How does Juan Archuleta compare to all of the previous talent that you faced going into this title fight?
Hey, Juan's tough, man. He's a gamer. He's good everywhere. He's got good boxing, good stand-up, great wrestling, good cardio. So, it's just like the other competitors I face. He's just on a different platform, and this one's for a title, so there's a little bit more on the line. So, nothing's different, man. Just a big boy.
All right.
Donna Corby, your line is live.
My question is for Juan. We spoke to Henry Corrales recently, and he seems to be still chasing you despite how that last fight went. What have you made of his comments towards you in the last few months, pretty much ever since that fight around this time last year?
You know what? Henry's in the rearview mirror right now. I just got to reach out to all my fans and tell them, hold the chips, hold the salsa, hold the margaritas and cerveza, because Cinco de Mayo is going to be 2 days delayed. And I got a tough competitor right here, 2 Mexicans going in the cage to Kalash. And it's going to be a great Cinco de Mayo for all our Mexican fans out there, because, we're going to bring the Latino heat in here. And we're the last announcement for a reason, because we're going to bring the heat. And, the spice, the chili, everything's going to be served Cinco de Mayo.
And I guess that both the champion Archuleta and the challenger Pettis are going to be attacking each other's body like it's filled with candy on Cinco de Mayo. All right, Sergio, Juan, thank you guys very much. Just one of the many championship fights that we are going to be bringing you in the early stages of this new partnership in combat sports. I've been a combat sports commentator for over 2 decades. I've had the honor and pleasure of calling some of the biggest events in history. And now on Showtime, we get to double dip. We have doubled our combat sports coverage with championship boxing and now Bellator MMA. It all gets underway Friday, April the 2nd. If you're a new Showtime subscriber, hey, you can sign up for 30 days free, half price for the next 6 months. And really, guys, so much to unpack. And I'm looking forward to packing and unpacking a whole lot more. With the final word on this special press conference, let's go back to the best combination since the jab and the cross came together. Morning Combat's LT and BC.
We got to get Morrow to give us more intros. We're never going to get cooler than when he introduces us. Luke Thomas, Brian Campbell, we are the hosts of Morning Combat. Thank you, Morrow. We greatly appreciate it. Okay, BC, a lot to chew on here. Let's start from the top and then work our way down. Showtime and Bellator working together. What do you think this means for the larger MMA space? There are many other organizations. What does it mean in your mind for these two powers to combine?
It's obviously a competitive market right now. There are many promotions competing against each other, trying to carve out their niche, trying to take a swing at the top. You have to look at this. With how brazen an announcement of an 8-man tournament of light heavyweight with this many names in it, mixed with the overall move to Showtime, it's a power move, all things considered, for Bellator MMA to go to a premium network with this type of reputation in combat sports and to come out swinging big with some great homegrown stars, as we talked about specifically in that Pitbull and Sanchez rematch to open up the April 2nd card. And then you start dipping into that tournament piece by piece, ending it with the 2 men we just saw on the stage for that Bantamweight world title. The 2 words I keep thinking are power move. This is a big statement to the rest of the mixed martial arts landscape.
Rising tide lifts all boats. In this particular case, I also love that it's going to be on Friday, tucked away from other boxing events, including on Showtime, certainly other MMA events as well. There's going to be a turn, essentially, I think, for everybody. That's going to benefit a lot of different parties. Obviously, Showtime and Bellator, perhaps most among them. The other big announcement that was made was the series of things that's going to happen. 3 shows in April, and then up to 2 shows a month thereafter. So around 20, 25 shows a year, something, like that. Kicking off, of course, April 2nd with that Pitbull Sanchez rematch. That one, the winner of that will be not only the champion, BC, but they're going to face AJ McKee in the finals of the Featherweight Grand Prix.
Whoever wins that, we're going to get a great final. You're obviously, as we talked about earlier, when you see the bracket ahead of time, you start mapping it out as a fan. What if we end up seeing this guy against this guy? You're starting to really get there with this impressive 16-man tournament, and it leads right into what we're going to see at light heavyweight. Look, I don't mean to keep staring every single question back into this 8-man tournament at 205 pounds, but wipe the sweat off the brow. This is big news for this sport.
Yeah, it is.
play with my emotions here. Is there a matchup? Is there something about this that rings the strongest in your eyes?
Yes, the Godzilla Mothra matchup, I think that's going to have most folks talking. I mean, you got to put on the fights that people want to pay money to see. Certainly, the one that leads that in pack, I think, is going to be Romero versus Rumble. Of course, the co-main event on April 16th, but you don't want to lose sight of the other fights going on in this tournament. Vadim Nemkov back against Phil Davis, very close fight the first time, and then the whole other side of the bracket, Bader and Machida and Yagshimuradov and Corey Anderson. There's not really a soft landing spot anywhere there.
How great is Vadim Nemkov? I mean, we are going to find that out over the course of this tournament, but when you talk about the potential experience he's going to go up against, he's 5-0 in the UFC, and that, I'm sorry, in the Bellator MMA, and that run has been very impressive over big names. It's only going to get bigger as he goes down here. We're going to find out just how great this 28-year-old is.
All right, so for more information, and if you are interested in subscribing, you have heard the details, but you can get more information, show.com/Bellator MMA. That's going to be the place if you're interested in seeing this kind of thing on Friday night. Plus, BC and I are not done. We have our social that's going to come up on the screen here. You can take a look and follow us. We're going to do a Morning Combat live show in about an hour, 6 p.m. We're going to have all the fighters you saw today right up here. We're going to interview them and ask them all the different things that we would love to talk about.
6 p.m. Eastern on the Morning Combat YouTube channel. It's going to be a nice gauntlet of big-time names, lot of stuff to get into to set the stage for the next couple months.
Big day for Bellator, big day for MMA, and big day, of course, for Showtime. We appreciate everybody tuning in. To catch us at 6 p.m. on the Morning Combat channel for Showtime and Bellator. That's Brian Campbell. I'm Luke Thomas. We will see you all next time at the fights.
When the camera's rolling, I like the danger in it. The heart pounds. It defies logic. It's thrilling to me.